Hey, everybody, how's it going? You're now watching the Movie Club Strikes Back Saturday Hangout. We have these things every week, and Alan dances every week, funnily enough.
Oh,
Basically, these things are where we all get together every week and try to talk about movies without being derailed too much. But then again, Alan's here.
yeah.
So, yeah, who we got today?
I'm Alan. That's my hairbrush. I'm Mr. Hairy Brit. That's my Charlie. You haven't seen me before. I waffle a lot. I'm way too hairy, and for once, I'm wearing a colour that isn't black. That is by no means an advertising. That's me rubbing my nipples. Anyway, next. Chris.
Oh, okay. Froze up there for a second. No, I'm Chris. You can find me at Easy Chair Reviews on YouTube, where I talk about movies and stuff for Movie Club Strikes Back. Also found on Twitter occasionally.
And I am Courtney. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Courtney Garrett, youtube.com/rhetoricalfoil. I also do movie reviews and getting into some drunken video gaming on my channel. So that's been fun.
Are you starting right now with that wine?
I've actually already started.
Nice.
But yeah.
I'm Jared. You can find me at Handsome Quacker right there. I usually do a YouTube channel. Sometimes I do Twitch. Always on Twitter, same handle. And I'm usually on YouTube and I talk about, well, movies. Even in my blogs, I'm probably going to start talking about movies, I'm thinking. So I talk way too fast, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Bye.
And I am Leo in these hangouts. I'm Servitorix everywhere else. I have a YouTube channel as well, and on there I'm just Scottish. That's about all I bring to the table. But yeah, unlike Handsome Quacker here, I don't talk very fast at all. So my videos tend to waffle on a wee bit. But anyway, yeah. Unfortunately for everyone, I'm moderating tonight. And tonight's theme, I know, I'm so sorry. Tonight's
It's good
theme,
that you don't talk fast, because, yeah, sometimes it just comes out as garbage coming out of my mouth. You can put together a full sentence and some full good ideas, or I just ramble.
do you watch my videos?
I enjoyed Teeth, by the way. That was a good one. I'm glad we had the same idea to do reaction videos. Yes, I'm with you on that.
I hate you, Philip DeFranco.
That's pretty much how the whole video is going to end.
Courtney
All right.
liked it.
Oh, God.
I did. I liked it a lot. I watched it twice.
Oh, my God. The pain.
The joy.
Wait, when you say you watched it twice, did you watch it before and then you watched it now, or you just repeated it because it was so good?
No, I watched it, and then a couple days later I watched it again.
So we should all still be worried then.
One and done. I'm set.
Aside from Teeth, have you guys watched anything good this week?
I'm watching, well, I got to finish up the new Spider-Man. It's Amazing Spider-Man 2 or whatever. I have like 5 minutes left. It's whatever. I'm not too into the whole new Spider-Man guy yet. Adam Garfield, or Andrew Garfield, I think his name is.
Andrew, yeah.
Yeah, he's okay.
So far, is it worth a watch?
If you like Spider-Man, yeah. Other than that, they didn't really, like, from the poster, you thought that they were going to have like 3 villains kind of thrown in there. They get rid of one pretty fast, and then it's concentrated on Jamie Foxx's, and then the other one just kind of comes in at the end. So it's not like 3 main villains fighting him the whole movie. So it's nice. It's not too cluttered, but it's definitely a setup for the next movie. You can tell.
Right.
So
Like Dark Knight was then, where Dark Knight obviously has, you had Two-Face, you have Joker, who was supposed to be in the Return film, but obviously he weren't around anymore. And then you did have a few others, didn't you? All touched upon.
Yeah, isn't the Scarecrow in every single Batman film?
Yeah.
yeah, he is in for a little cameo.
A little bit in every single one. Isn't the guy that played him like in most of Christopher Nolan's films?
He's been in quite a few, yeah. He was in Inception.
That is quite a lot.
And, well, okay, all 3 Batman movies, and then Inception. So,
Yeah.
anyways, what I've watched this week, I saw Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, I need to go
So
watch that.
good.
I still need to go to the cinema. I've not been there for a while, and so many films have come out that I want to watch. It's like, go on, they're not all still sat there waiting for me. Like, it's like,
Guys, we can't watch this film yet. Alan hasn't seen it.
yeah, we're just gonna put it all in one cinema. So when he comes back, he can sit there and marathon his way through everything. It's like, I mean, the last film I went to see at the cinema was The World's End. I reviewed that last year.
It's a while ago.
Outrageous.
So, like, is Guardians of the Galaxy at the top of your list then?
Yeah, I won't. See, I'm not much of a comic book fan, so
Doesn't matter.
I didn't realise it was a comic book at all until I did a bit of digging a few weeks back, obviously. But yeah, I look at it and I can see it as family fun, and it seems to have gone right into the box office and pretty much pissed on everything that's around at the moment. It's like, yeah, fair dues. I don't mind that. That should be fun. But
Transformers beat it though.
I also want to see Transformers, right? I know there's not Shia LaBeouf and I know it's Marky Mark, but I don't mind a Michael Bay film if I know it's a Michael Bay film. You kind of set your level at there, and you know that it's gonna be. You don't need a plot to carry a film, do you?
Welcome to Movie Club Strikes Back. We review
Welcome to Movie Club. We don't need plots.
Just a few explosions, a little bit of, I don't know, random cleavage, and that's about it for a Michael Bay film.
Yay, cleavage, but boo, no plots.
Right with you.
Well, that's fine. Just don't watch 50 Shades of Grey, because you'll be seriously disappointed.
50 Shades of Grey.
Well,
We would know
Pretty much, Alan. You don't mind watching Michael Bay? Are you gonna go watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles then?
oh, yeah, because once again, from a personal standpoint, I want to ignore the plot line because we know he's fucked it, right? So all I want to see is the odd turtle joke, the odd kind of here's a rat joke, the odd explosion, and then the credits. Thank you, Michael Bay. That's what I pay for Michael Bay. Right? That's the only reason we watch Michael Bay. Right?
Thank you for lobotomizing me for 2 hours, Michael Bay. Now on with my life.
Because you could just forget that, outside that door there is, America being dicks. There's them blowing up Iraq. There's Ebola somewhere, right? And we're just this Michael Bay film that can make us forget the world. Maybe.
Alan, you don't say things like that without numbered here. With 3 Americans here, you don't say stuff.
But that's fine because.
No, but you see, okay, I see your point, Alan, but here's the thing. You can also forget about the world by going to see a good movie.
You could do, but really, really good movies make you to start doubt yourself and generate an existential crisis.
Guardians of the Galaxy does not do that. Go watch it.
Exactly. So you said a good film.
I need to watch it.
You know shit.
Mwah.
Wow. Started off right.
Chris, have you been watching anything this week?
It's a nightmare. I've yet to offend a woman in this live stream yet, though. Yet. So.
You got the finger. That's good.
No, I did go see Guardians of the Galaxy last week. So I enjoyed it. It was good.
God, I still haven't seen it either. I need to go watch this movie.
Very, very
But
good.
somewhere in the Guardians of the Galaxy, doesn't Michael Pratt do a lot of Dr. Dre?
Michael Pratt. Who's that?
Michael Pratt? Chris Pratt. Yeah, does a lot of Dr. Dre, forgets about Dre for 3.5.
Oh, yeah. That was
Oh,
awesome.
Chris Pratt?
That's what I said, Chris Pratt, wasn't it?
He said Michael Pratt. You got
Michael
Michael
Pratt.
Bay in the brain, though.
Michael's in my head. It's fine. Yeah.
All you can think about is Michael Bay.
Like
So
Nickelback.
that's one of the good things about the movie. They had such a great soundtrack to it. Just because of the piece was Chris Pratt's character brought his Walkman from the '80s, and it had all this music from the '70s and '60s, and that was one of the more enjoyable parts for me. Is you had some great songs in there.
Nice.
Great.
Very good.
I don't know why I was entertained by the fact that they were able to say that the entire movie's soundtrack was just from his Walkman tape.
Pretty much.
All the music in it.
But the dog agrees.
I've actually got 2 of them this week. I'm dog sitting for my parents, so it might get noisy.
Well, Alan's here. Yeah, we'll get noisy.
That's okay. I know a trick on how to keep dogs quiet. Date them for ages. Anyway,
I don't get it, Alan. Can you explain that one to me?
I will do somewhere off live chat because otherwise I'm going to lose subscribers. So.
Okay, we'll move on to one of the topics I have prepared beforehand in a very advanced Microsoft Word document.
Woo.
I prepared a few questions for you. What has been your most feared villains in your life so far? Or your favorite villains, rather?
I'd say in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, you get, is it Doctor Doom or Doctor Death?
Christopher Lloyd, yeah. He did.
Yeah. As a kid, that creeped me out. When you realise, no spoilers, because if you haven't seen it, it's older than me, right? But when he reveals that he's a cartoon and he does the whole weird eye thing and then he gets run over, when he steps back up, as a kid, that creeped me the fuck out. But I think that's because I'd seen Back to the Future, and it's weird for me to see a good guy play bad. So in my mind's eye, I stereotyped him as the Doc, and then I've gone back, and he's the evil bastard. That blew my brain as a kid.
That's where you stop trusting people, right?
And moved to Yorkshire, which yeah, that doesn't work either.
Is that what went through your mind? The dog is evil.
Yorkshire. They've got Yorkshire puddings and they've got gravy. No one could be evil with gravy. I believe that was exactly what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think the first one that's really stuck with me, and I always look at this guy as a great villain, is just Darth Vader. I mean, just with the breathing and the mask, and over 6 feet tall, just pure black, and he just exudes evil, and he's never, I mean, he kills a lot of his own guys and stuff like that. But that's just one of those things. You see Darth Vader, you hear that voice, the rebreather, and that just sinks in. That one holds you, especially as a little kid. But even growing up, that sticks with me as one of the great villains of the movies.
Definitely one of the most iconic villains of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When he had his own music, man.
I could play off of that one. Iconic villains. Hannibal Lecter. That guy, terrifying. Considering I watched that when I was like 10 years old, that guy scared the shit out of me for being behind bars like the whole movie. Yeah, I didn't like that guy at all. I was like, okay, so he'll like whine you, dine you, and then he'll eat you is pretty much how it goes. Don't know why he always freaked me out though. That guy, and this one's kind of off topic, but Jason Isaacs from The Patriot. Oh, sorry, Alan, go ahead.
Oh, it was just a bad joke. Rolf Harris is in the same boat with that now, though. He's behind bars to preach you out.
Oh.
I think one of the things with Hannibal Lecter is he's so. I mean, from 90% of that movie, or at least the first 3 quarters, he's very refined, he's very educated, and yeah, he's a bit creepy, but he's not, being brutal or vicious. And then it's like in that last, half hour, he kind of snaps and he's biting people's faces off, and you suddenly see the brutality behind the facade. So I think that makes him a really interesting villain.
Yeah, I agreed with that. I mean, like I said, that's where he comes off as a very nice, educated, cultured dude who seems like he'd be cool to hang out with, but he actually just wants to eat you for dinner when it comes down to like the very end of that movie. So yeah, I completely agree with you there, Chris.
I think what separates it, why I feared Hannibal Lecter as a child and I didn't fear Darth Vader as a child, is because Darth Vader, you see a sort of a redemption from him at the end. Spoiler alert. But
Oh,
but
you
with,
ruined the movies.
I know. He's Luke's dad. But
I've got my
there's
whole life not knowing that, and you ruined it.
oops.
Mm.
But there's no redemption for Hannibal Lecter. He, like you said, he seemed calm, refined throughout the entire film. But the end is him just snapping and going absolutely crazy. There's no even hint that he can be turned good again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's it. Courtney?
Yeah, I feel like mine are. I'm gonna take it to the Disney place first because I can, and I would say like if I'm going specifically, my scariest like Disney villain, a lot of people will choose like Maleficent or somebody magical, but Shan Yu from Mulan is the scariest fucking villain, in my opinion.
I wasn't scared by him.
Okay, well I was terrified.
Really? Why?
He had an entire army, and he had an avalanche come down on him, and he survived.
So he's persistent then. That's
Yeah,
what you hate about him.
he was just creepy. I had nightmares.
Well,
Actually-
you wouldn't want a villain that gives up the first time round, now would you? Because that's not scary. Want to take over the world? No. Okay, I'm sorry. Bye.
That's the
I
first
will
round.
give you the scariest villain right now. I just thought of it because we just watched it, Liam and Courtney. That vagina with the teeth.
So
Seven-
it's not the woman.
Scariest villain in all film history.
That vagina was a hero.
No.
It's not the last. It's not the last that owns it.
It's just the vagina is a separate entity.
Oh no, she controls it. We seen she controlled it.
Yes, she does.
You fuck me up? Just she like made a twisting motion when she got off of him too, and it just snapped that shit right off. Oh.
Yay.
I actually missed something, right? You referred to Philip DeFranco, right? Has he brought back the movie club?
No, it's just his special pick. That was his first video when he first started doing Movie Club. He was doing like 30 days of movies. His very first one was Teeth. So he's like, I'm gonna do it how I started it, and you guys are gonna watch Teeth. So his special guest pick was fucking Teeth.
And it was amazing.
I've not really gone through most of my subs for the last 2 weeks. I've just not had a chance. So yeah, I kind of missed that.
Yeah.
Like we were like there with him when he like so we were standing right beside him. He was picking it. We were trying to show enthusiasm for it. We're like, he's like Teeth. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, but to be fair, right? That's certainly memorable. It's not something run of the mill. It's not like the bog standard family pleasers that you do each and every week. So
Teeth is a family pleaser.
well, you know what I mean. Like most weeks, they're fairly non-offensive. It's not like each and every week we're going, yay! Next week it's the human centipede. Woo! So you'll remember it in your nightmares, but still.
You just gave away Trisha Hirschberger's pick.
That would be incredibly surprising.
That would be amazing. That woman looks. Butter wouldn't melt, but I bet I can't finish that sentence on a live stream. I just can't. I just yeah.
I'm confused now.
It's in her eyes.
Some restraint. Some restraint.
My favorite, not my favorite. When I say favorite, I mean my least favorite. But you'll see what Rob Roy, the guy in Rob Roy, Tim Roth in Rob Roy. Have any of you seen that film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I forget the character's name, but I think he's an interesting villain because he plays almost like a complete opposite to Rob Roy, because Rob Roy's is very down to earth, earthy Scotsman, and then Tim Roth's character is this very kind of prissy English gentleman. And the way I watch that movie, that always seems to me like a very interesting pairing between hero and villain, because they're almost, dual reflections of each other. So yeah, he's a great villain, and yeah, he's just evil.
Yeah, just thoroughly unlikable, and I think that's what a villain should be. It's not necessarily entertaining. Like, okay, Tom Hiddleston as Loki, he's a villain, but he's likable, and all the ladies fall for him and all that. Doesn't make him a good villain, I think.
I can confirm.
What's his name? Jason Isaacs from The Patriot. He was like the most unlikable dude in that movie. The guy that killed Heath Ledger, and who else did he kill of Mel Gibson's family in that movie?
He killed his other son.
His other son. Yeah, that guy was. I hated that guy. I'd never wanted a character to die more than him. That was just completely unlikable. Where he murdered everybody, and he just ruined that guy's life.
Yeah. See, like, it's like these villains are so good, I think, because they're so unlikable and so hateable. This is leading on to my next thing. What characteristics make up a villain make them a good villain, do you think?
Well, I'll start off on this one, because I think it's not just that a character's unlikable that makes him a good villain. I think part of it is, because nobody says to themselves, I'm going to be the bad guy. So in order to be a good villain, I think you have to approach it from a viewpoint of, this guy thinks he's the hero. Yeah, he's doing bad things, but he's doing them for a reason. To use Jason Isaacs' character from The Patriot, he was fighting a revolution. He was, fighting the rebels. So you could kind of see where he thought he might be the good guy. And I always think that makes a more interesting villain when they can put themselves in, or you can put yourself into their shoes and say, I understand why this guy's being evil. Yeah, he's thoroughly unlikable, but I understand his viewpoint.
I agree with that, and I think it also works again with like Loki, because you see where he's coming from, so you see why he does the things that he does. It doesn't mean that what he's doing is right, obviously, but you can understand him, and that keeps him from being just a flat, like, one-dimensional character, which is better.
I do also think that the approach that they're insane and they've got no motive can add to being a great villain as well. Like Hannibal Lecter, the Joker, both of these guys, you can't really see where they're coming from. You don't know why they do what they do. Joker literally just wants to see the world burn, to quote Alfred. And Hannibal Lecter, he just likes to eat people.
But I think the way Joker comes at you is so full of life. At least he's not just the stereotypical, just he's being bad for the sake of being bad. But in this case, it's not black and white. He's pure and simply enjoying the madness. He's not deliberately just being a cunt. It's hard to explain to, and a good guy may have a motive, or they're not. Batman, for example, right? He's being the anti-hero whilst being the hero, because you're rooting for him to be the good guy, whilst he's actually wedged between the police and the bad guys to start with, or that's the concept anyway. You're supposed to hate him, but you don't by the end of the Dark Knight film. Was Joker, especially the Heath Ledger Joker, not the cartoon element. He gives you multi-dimensions of why he's such a fucked up individual. So he's doing it because he's mental, but he's doing it because he likes being a bad guy, but he also loves the chaos that it generates. The writing of that character was amazing, because you won't forget him, not only as the actor, but you won't forget the portrayal that was given. Like, I can't forget Jim Carrey's version of the Riddler, but for a completely different reason. He's insane but funny, and the funny dark side of him carries through. Hiddleston does the same. He likes to be an asshole, although there may be a storyline underneath him because Joss Whedon has the ability to write character development into everyone. That's a Joss Whedon trait. Not many people can do that. Some people just like a bad guy to be bad for just the sake of being bad, which, you know, fine. But the 80s was bad for that. You never got an explanation why Shredder was Shredder. He was just the bad guy for the sake of being the bad guy. Whilst nowadays we get two tones, the Nolan effect, because then you start to sympathise with the bad guy. Two-Face being an example. He was the nice guy that got fucked up, and now he needs to be bad. You know?
Would you guys
feel sorry for him?
Would you guys say that the villain in Highlander is a good villain? Because he's kind of got he just loves the chaos, but he's also got the element of, I also want to just stay alive and not be killed by another Highlander or another immortal.
He's a typical black and white. That's kind of what I mean from the 80s. You look at him and he's designed to be evil. He's got the black leather, the dark look, the bald head, the deep voice, the massive sword. He's supposed to be Goliath to your good guy's David. It's the archetype that people padded to. And in the 80s...
It goes back into the definitions of good and evil. I mean, we look at a good character as one who acts from a selfish or a selfless nature. They're more interested in the community, more interested in the overall good, whereas your evil characters are more selfish. You know, it's all about them. It's, you know, personal. It's intrinsic.
Exactly.
So, again, it goes into motivations. So that's where that kind of duality, that black and white nature comes from. So when you apply that to the Highlander, you know, you see McLeod, you know, he wants the prize. Yeah, he wants to stay alive, but he's going to use it for, you know, beneficial reasons. While the Kurgan, you know, he just wants to be the guy with the power. He wants to be the one left standing at the end. And he's probably going to use it to enslave and dominate, as opposed to, you know, being a beneficial aspect. So yeah, I think when you look at heroes and villains, you can almost really use that as your, when it is black and white, as the dividing line. The hero is the guy who's more interested in a communal good, whereas the evil guy, the bad guy, is acting in a selfish frame.
I'd say I think the revisiting of the Star Wars franchise, although heavily slammed, you actually got to see an 70s, 80s character get an overhaul. So for the first 3 films, you saw the black and white Darth Vader. You hate this man, you don't know why, he's just an arsehole. But they went back and filled him in from white to grey to black as he went through, and then you now see that it's not 100% that easy to hate him if you watch it in chronological order, because you understand that it's now the pain that he's been through that makes him a cunt, rather than picking him up at, you know, episode 4. So I think the back history of characters now, if written properly and richly, a good bad guy can be vulnerable yet an absolute arsehole if done properly.
Yeah, I would say that in the Star Wars thing, the way that Darth Vader is sort of like you say, white and black thing. It starts off with the prequels in it. It would go white, grey, black, and then it says black, then grey, then white in the end. That's the way Darth Vader's thing goes. Because number 4, he's just meant to be entered there as a villain. He's just meant to be, okay, this guy's blown up this planet. Another spoiler. And he's just evil. But then you realize he's being manipulated, and slowly with the discovery of his son and all that, and the influence of his son, he becomes good again, or at least a lighter shade of grey.
Yeah, one of the many 50 shades that certain Denmark people like. So yeah.
Yep. Right. There's well, I've got another question here for you all. Where would you say is the line between a character being a villain and the character being an anti-hero?
Hmm.
Hmm.
So I think it's at the point where they establish the character themselves, the motives behind the character. If you have a look at a very good example, and we've touched upon literally minutes ago, Batman being the sense that he doesn't want to be a hero. He's not there for the accolade. In fact, he doesn't really want to be known. What he's there is to serve justice without delivering fame. So him jumping into a suit and running around and doing what he needs to do, even if it means breaking the law to do so, I think that's the grey area, and a good anti-hero should be in. Was a pure to God solid gold hero should be whiter than white, squeaky clean. You know, your original Spider-Man rather than the recent reboot. Here's a tragic story that makes him save the world in the first film. While the reboot, he's very much more of a cocky cunt that likes the suit. I think that's them trying to push it in that direction.
But you'll see, like in a lot of movies these days, and throughout movies throughout history, that quite a lot of heroes, if not most, have not been pure white and white. You know, they've not been they've not been the best. They've had redemption. They've had to redeem themselves, and sort of redeem themselves over the course of the film.
Hmm.
Like, for instance, Iron Man. He's a very flawed personality, but he's considered the hero because he gets over or uses these character flaws in himself to overcome the villains or the situation.
I think Iron Man was 100% written in this instance. Obviously not prior, right? But in this instance, there couldn't have been anyone but Robbie Downey Jr.
Mm-hmm.
That's a perfect fit for the Stark character in himself, because the amount of shit he's done, and then you cram his personality into a suit and let him be Stark, I think that was genius. Because then he's trying to make up for the shit that he's done previous to these films, right?
Well,
Yeah,
when I look at
just can't see anybody playing Iron Man, I really can't. Robert Downey Jr. I feel like was meant to play this role, like you said. Just from him, his drug addiction, his shitty movie, he just didn't care. He was in that low point of his life, and he has come out of it now. And what, top grossing Avenger, dude? He's like 50 million for that one film or something. Yeah, he is Iron Man. He is Tony Stark, and it's going to be tough if they ever recast him. But like you said, he had to redeem himself for that.
It's
Yeah,
lucky that he had that shot. I mean, you've got also within the same film you had Mickey Rourke,
Mm-hmm.
and
Same thing.
he's on the same kind of flip. I mean, he did amazingly well as a kid. He then went off and did bare knuckle boxing, hence his face.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not only that, but the botched fucking plastic surgeries. Right? But he's won people back, and I think the film that did that for him was The Wrestler, which showed him as the flawed individual trying so hard to gain his goal, and you fall in love with him. And then, for my case, I once again, if I see a very well acted role, it's very hard for me not to typecast you as that individual. But in Iron Man 2, you once again got to see he's not as evil as you want him to be. He's not a black and white villain. He had a reason to be upset. So he felt that he was avenging his father. So he wasn't as evil. He just was genius to try and pursue his revenge in a way that may not necessarily be the whitest of white.
So would people in the great category then be counted as villains, do you think? Like, 'cause, for instance, the way you're describing him, he is grey. Like, he's got sort of good intent and he's doing evil things.
Well, with an anti-hero, it's you're looking at somebody who's, yeah, they're kind of operating outside of societal norms, which is why they're not, the hero. But it's more than just, a hero with character flaws. I mean, everybody's got character flaws. A well-crafted character is going to be, have some sort of interesting aspect to him that isn't completely white. He's not that, white shiny knight. So you're going to get character flaws. With a anti-hero, you're looking at somebody whose end goal is more of the heroic goal. He's trying to defeat the actual bad guy, the villain, but is doing so in a way that's probably not really accepted. So I think Batman's a good choice for that. When I think of a classic anti-hero, I think of Clint Eastwood in the Man with No Name trilogy. The Good and Bad, the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars for a few dollars more. Because he's not a good guy in those movies. He straight out guns people down. He's a bounty hunter. He's collecting money for people's corpses. But he's always facing down the bad guy. He's doing so for a couple different reasons. So he's always kind of standing up for the little guy, and he's, like I said, killing the bad guys, but not always the best person. So I think he kind of classifies what the anti-hero is.
Mm-hmm. Well, what are some other classic like anti-heroes that we know and from films? Because the one that really just is like chiming in my head a lot is the new Lockout film, the Luke Besson one. Guy Pearce he's a dick throughout the whole movie. I mean, he's an asshole. He doesn't want to help, and they're kind of forcing him to help. But in the end, he ends up getting the girl, kinda. So, I mean, who else can we really think of that are anti-heroes? I mean, shitty people that do the right thing.
And initially, I would say Wolverine.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, because
Yeah.
he only started looking after himself. Then he had Rogue, and then he was still kind of reluctant for a while until it became part of a collective goal. So yeah, well, you had Wolverine, but I guess anyone that if you could pit your anti-hero, take them out of their genre, and pit them against another hero, and they come off worse, maybe that's your anti-hero. I mean, if you pit Batman versus your whiter-than-white Superman, and one just doesn't look quite as good as the other morally, because your Superman will pick up that car and fly around the world to save that individual, whilst Batman, I don't know, blow up the bridge to make sure that it's okay on the other slant. But because they are the better alternative in the film, it's the slightly shady Batman versus the really evil Joker. The slightly shady Batman looks good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good example. I like that.
What would you say about Superman in Man of Steel then? If you're saying that Batman is slightly more questionable because he blows up the bridge, Superman allows a whole city to be destroyed. Oh well, accidentally allows it.
But once again, is that because of the rewriting of him being an anti-hero in this situation? If he was pit against Tony Stark, would Stark be winning? Would he sweep in to save the day and improve his ego? It's that competition. I haven't seen Man of Steel, so I can't draw direct reference.
Oh, I've spoiled it for you.
Hell. Yeah, what about Captain America and Iron Man then? That works.
Ooh, yeah.
Captain America's very straight and narrow. We know this, and while Iron Man's not, like we were just talking about. So that's a good comparison too. And you even seen that they had conflict. So Iron Man is definitely the more shadier one there, where Captain America is the very go straight, do anything. He will sacrifice himself to save anybody.
In that film, would you say in the Avengers that the anti-hero there is Stark, whilst in the Iron Man films he's the hero? I mean, is it the setting that they're placed in, or the measuring stick they're lined up against?
Well, that goes back to the redemption thing again, like you were saying. He feels like he wronged the world, so he feels like he has to help everybody. That's why he was over there. I think it was Iraq or Afghanistan, the first one, you remember? And he was trying to
Yeah.
take down. So I say it's more just a redemption thing, actually. He feels like he did this to these people, so he has to do something about it.
So maybe it's an ulterior motive, the fact that I'm doing it to make myself feel better about the evils I've done, rather than Superman saving the world because he's an alien that has a suit that is better than
I mean, yeah. That's exactly what it is. I mean, yeah, they're anti-heroes, and then there's the cut, straight, and narrow heroes. I mean, they make all good movies. I mean, if they were all like Captain America and the Avengers, it would be a boring movie. It really would. But with Iron Man, it makes it more interesting. Even the Hulk, like, where he can't control himself, he's not an anti-hero. It's kind of his Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing going on. Then eventually, by the end of the film, somehow he can control it. I don't get that. I don't read the comic books, so I'm not really sure how that happened, but it's just the same thing.
a very, very helpful and convenient plot device.
Right.
He's like, no, we want a shot where the Hulk just turns in, Bruce Banner just turns into the Hulk randomly and punches an alien. What can we write here?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think you can compare like Captain America to pretty much everyone in the Avengers like that. Like Thor, for instance, as well. He's very much about building himself up, but then again, he also has the he's doing it for love kind of thing for Natalie Portman and all that.
Yeah, you're right, because he was a dick at the very beginning of Thor.
Natalie Portman.
I think I cut him off. At a good time, I think I cut him off. He's smiling like I did. But no, same thing with Thor. Flawed at the very beginning, selfish prick at the very beginning, and now look at him. I mean, he's changed. He's the redemption guy too. So yeah, you're right. Captain America compared to all of them. I'm trying to think, but no, Captain America's a straight guy there.
In one way, do you think Captain America's popularity suffers from that? The fact that he's had no redemption story, or like any character change, he's been the same guy constantly, or?
Well, I think it's the same issue we get when we look at, Batman and Superman. A lot of people find Batman a more interesting character because he's a little darker, and Superman less interesting because, he's, the big blue Boy Scout. So that's the same thing. Tony Stark is Iron Man, a little more flawed, a little more interesting to watch. But Captain America, with that very kind of 50s sensibility, right and wrong, and that I think he suffers from that as well. Because he's not as interesting a character.
But doesn't he have the whole? He started off being the guy with the good heart, but kind of bullied deep down. So he kind of had he's got the big enough heart to get there. Granted, with the aid of massive super drugs.
He just never had the ability or the chance to like do something, and when he became Captain America, he could finally do something and change the world. But yeah, he was bullied, he was picked on, but he had that big heart, like you said. So yeah,
and I think that's actually very, very key to the Captain America persona, is the fact, and they bring this out in the movie, that he hates bullies, which is why he never became one, because he was always watching for that. He hated bullies. He didn't like people who could use their strength over others. So he never did that himself. So I think that was, again, a very interesting thing they did in the film.
I like the fact that Captain America, that's one of the things, to be honest, few things I liked about him, was the fact that he always was so very close to becoming a villain, and the fact that quite a lot of villains have had that same background as he has. They've always been bullied, and now they've been given the power to not be bullied anymore. And theoretically, it's quite obvious Captain America could be a bully himself now, but he has made the choice not to be the bully, to be the hero, which is it's a very fine line, I think, that he walked. But yeah. Anyway.
Well, yeah, when we go back, and particularly the comic book genre, a lot of the heroes and a lot of the villains have kind of similar origin stories. I mean, something happened to them, it gave them, some sort of supernatural power, but the dividing line seems to be how they use it. All the villains act in, again, going back to kind of what I said earlier, a very selfish manner. Either they're trying to increase power or wealth, are seeking revenge or something, but they're very concerned about themselves. Whereas the hero, when he gets those powers, decides to use it for the greater good.
Well, I guess the anti-hero fits in the middle, like backstory of Magneto, what you saw in First Class. He's trying for revenge, but fighting the inner evil in him. Unfortunately, it kind of wins out, but he's now being what he feels like is being bullied by the rest of society. So if you was to remove the rest of the X-Men or what they become, he's fighting for the sake of his race against the evil people that want to exterminate him. How's he not a good guy? It's just the fact that he's got the other measuring stick up against him, which is the even greater good, which is the...
Well, no, I think if you look at Magneto, it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about interesting villains are guys you can see inside their shoes and understand why they're being a villain. They think they're being the good guy, and that's Magneto. He thinks waging his war against humanity is, protecting mutants and whatever. But he's actually, I mean, if you look at what he does, the actions he takes, I think it's very easy to see that he's being just as racist, just as domineering, just as violent as what he's trying to protect against. So he's, in that case, being very hypocritical. But you understand where he's coming from. So that makes him an interesting villain, but he is a villain.
So it's intent versus the way it's deployed. So
Well, it would have to be. I mean, if intent goes to morality, and if we're using the good and bad, then we got to talk about morality, and it's all about intent. Because if the good guy kills the bad guy, he's killing somebody, and that's a bad act. But why is he doing it? He's doing it to protect others because the bad guy is killing people. So it's, again, you have to look at it intent because that's where we define, good versus evil, good guy versus bad guy. That's how we, assign roles.
Hmm.
And that's why Jason Isaac had to be killed by Mel Gibson in The Patriot. Because he hurt too many people. For the greater good.
Anytime somebody's shooting kids, they're probably going to be the bad guy.
Shooting kids, burning down churches, the usual stuff.
Speaking of Jason Isaacs, this leads into my next thing quite well, actually. What actors do you think? What actors do you think tend to be stereotyped as bad guys and villains? Why do you think they are?
Oh yeah, definitely Jason Isaacs. He's one of those guys that looks the part of a villain. Unfortunately, some people just have that, and they're always stereotyped as the villain, or not stereotyped. Yeah, I guess that's the word. Whatever. The other guy, Guy Pearce, always a bad guy. I love Guy Pearce. Count of Monte Cristo, the new Iron Man, always a bad guy it seems, or at least like that movie Lockout or whatever. He was an anti-hero, always a bad guy.
Have you seen him in Lawless with Tom Hardy?
Yes, and creepy bad guy in that one.
Oh, I wanted to kill him so bad.
Right? Yeah. I don't know. Him, Jason Isaacs. I like Gary Oldman as a bad guy, even though he can play a good guy too. Who else?
Mark Strong. That's
yes.
He's an
Mark
excellent bad guy.
He's a very good bad guy.
Has Ben Kingsley ever been a villain? I'm thinking purely on this advert that him, Tom Hiddleston, and Mark Strong did together, where they were all villains apparently.
Yeah, it's the automatic assumption that if you're English, you can be the thoughtful, evil bad guy.
Yeah. Just drive a Jaguar.
Wittiness.
I'm going to mention the movie Blood Rain, which I don't.
No, I never watched it.
I don't suggest anybody actually watch because it's horrible. But he played a bad guy in that.
Huh. Was he like an iconic bad guy? Wow, I just went through puberty all over again. Was he an iconic bad guy, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, he was just a straight out. I mean, he was like a big vampire guy, and he was, over the top, very corny, but all out bad guy in that one. But it was such a bad movie. Such a bad movie.
One guy I'm thinking of is have you guys all seen The Knight's Tale?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The bad guy in that.
Rufus Sewell.
Yeah.
However you say his last name, but yeah.
He was there was I remember reading an article about him, that the fact that he he is so fed up the fact that he's always typecast as a villain that he stopped acting unless he got a role where he wasn't a villain, and he didn't work for like 2 years.
Jeez.
So he just came back as the bad guy in Abraham Lincoln versus Vampires, or Vampire Hunter thing.
The Illusionist, that's the other one I was trying to think of, where he was the bad guy in that too.
Yes.
God. Bad guys.
Why do you think that they're bad guys then?
Most repetitive actors, however, happen to always be the hero or the anti-hero. I can't honestly. There must be some, right? I can always picture like Elijah Wood. He was obviously the good guy in Lord of the Rings, and he's gone on to everything ever since. But you tend to find in the big franchises, the bad guys do really well and then disappear. I don't know why, but they don't seem to reoccur as often as the heroes do.
Yeah.
Elijah Wood did play a bad guy recently. Was that Maniac? They remade Maniac, and he was the bad guy in that. He was creepy in that too.
Is that a good film?
Yeah, but it's done from like his perspective, so like his point of view throughout the whole movie. So you only see him when he looks in a mirror. He has a reflection. It's odd, but it's a different movie. It's worth watching.
Do you think that's because he'd played so many squeaky clean roles as the hero that just tried to shake it off? Like Harry Potter's what's his face? The first film I saw him in after Harry Potter was a Hammer horror film, where he's still the good guy, but it's a huge step away from the Potter genre. He also did an onstage performance where he got naked, which is the only reason that it got any form of media coverage.
He's in a film
Because he just turned 18.
Yeah. He was in a film recently, or that went around festivals, that's now coming out in cinemas, called Horns, or something like that.
That's right.
Where I think I don't know if he's the villain in that or if he's just the anti-hero, but that looks really good, I think.
I haven't seen the trailer of it. I saw that it popped up, but I haven't watched it yet. Horns.
The trailer's out for it and it looks pretty fantastic, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah,
There it is.
I'm gonna lead on to the next question then. Do you guys think that a film needs a hero or a villain character in it?
It needs to.
I don't think they actually need it.
In conflict, if anything. Doesn't matter what it is as long as it's conflict. Like, what was that movie with Matt Damon and Naomi Watts and the tsunami came? I mean, you don't exactly need a bad guy. Just put him in a bad situation and you get the same thing. Sandra Bullock, Gravity, even though I didn't really care for Gravity, there's no real bad guy. It was just meteorite, I guess, if you want to call it a bad guy, hit the space station. But I don't really think you need a villain, but you definitely need a hero or an anti-hero or somebody you have to follow around and put them in a troubling situation.
Yeah, the way they look at
something for them to survive, then yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way they define it in the literary sense, is that there's only actually three stories. You know, man versus man, man versus self, and man versus nature.
Mm-hmm.
So a hero and a villain only comes into play in the man versus man story. So if it's man versus self or man versus nature, yeah, there's conflict, but it's it's not a good versus evil necessarily, or good guy versus bad guy.
What would you say out of those three things then Gravity is?
That's a little bit of both. I mean, it's obviously man versus nature, or in that case, woman versus nature.
So it's self too, where she's
yeah, but that's the other piece. Woman, herself, because she's got to find the strength within herself to try and survive. So it's actually really both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say circumstance would be? What would should circumstance be included in that list? Like, I don't know. That's just a thing with man versus circumstance.
I think I know what you're talking about, Chris. I think there was another one too, isn't there? It's like man versus something else. Man versus man, man versus self, man versus nature, and then isn't there like 2 or 3 more? I can't remember, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, like man,
Yeah, I think they find they can generally break it down into one of the three.
Right.
And any sort of conflict within, again, it can almost divide between, okay, is this a struggle against nature, or in some circumstances, you could say that's a circumstance, or within that there's something within themselves that they've got to overcome in order to survive at that point. So,
Right.
but I think if you look at any story, any conflict story, you can kind of break it down as into one of those three groupings.
Yeah, that's what it's really defined as. Yeah.
but you also tend to find that man versus self or man versus nature or situation, we shall call that, is normally actually the birthing of an anti-hero of some kind. Because either he's fighting or redeeming himself, or the situation that was around him that forged him. So, man versus situation or nature, Captain America being bullied, being given the opportunity, forged the moral standing that he was, that then forged the character. So you can always have no villain that creates the person that then causes the next step. Maybe that's why you get 3 hours worth of films. It's like, here's 2.5 hours of explaining why Wolverine now has metal rather than bone. You know?
Yeah, but you have some of those ones that actually it works, and they don't really. It's not against. They don't turn bad. It's like the one I'm thinking of is Good Will Hunting with Matt Damon. He's struggling himself throughout that whole movie of fitting in with his boys, Ben Affleck and all of them. But then he meets a girl, and he works at a school, and we all know he's really smart, but he has that conflict, and that's why he like shuns off all the people that want to help him until the therapist Robin Williams finally helps him out. But I think that's just a classic one of he's constantly like, I don't know what I want to be. I'm supposed to be this, but I can do this. I am a smart guy. So that's just an example of where he doesn't really go off the deep edge besides leaving Ben Affleck by himself and not answering the door.
I think a lot of comic book movies tend to have a bit of both man versus man and man versus self, especially Batman, the Christopher Nolan series specifically. Like Rises, he's obviously against Bane and all that, but he's trying to overcome his own inhibitions that he's, developed over the years since Dark Knight.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess that's a very good base for your trilogies, though. If you have those three concepts and you do yourself dark, man versus man for your middle, which is that's you and your major adversity, and your biggest rival, and then your third being a situation. You can either cram that into a 3-hour-long film, or you can put it into a trilogy. And Avengers, if you think of it, that's them all coming together to deal with a situation, rather than one individual human being, or Loki, granted. But it was more of not just Loki causing the problems, it was everything around it causing the problems with Loki as a spearhead. So they've built towards that, but now they've got that base of that character or those characters. They can explore things around them a little bit more. Granted, maybe milking the same formula over and over again. I'm sure if you drilled down deep into every origin story, there would be a formula to it. Iron Man being an arsehole that needs to redeem himself. That's fairly similar to many origin stories of similar characters. So you just throw them into similar plot lines. And we've got so used to them repackaging them now. Because how many times has Spider-Man been rebooted since the proper cinema has been around? I've seen at least 2. And Sony will reboot it constantly every 8 years to make sure they don't lose their copyrights. So they just won't throw him in with the Avengers because it's a completely different contract.
But yeah, a lot of heroes do have a similar path, and we talked about this when we talked about heroes. The fact that they've done studies into commonalities between hero stories throughout history and cultures, and I think you can probably apply that directly to villains because there's going to be certain commonalities for the bad guys as well, and they're in some cases just heroes that failed. They were on a hero's journey, but they couldn't measure up. They lacked the character to go there, and ended up being the villain.
Yeah, like the road to hell is paved with good intentions kind of thing.
Is there something that makes a hero for a guy more than a woman? I mean, what do you look for in a hero, Courtney?
Sorry, I'm so quiet tonight. Just a person who, yeah, obviously can fuck up, but at the end of the day can make the hard choice to do the right thing.
Is that the same? Do you expect the same from your female heroes within films compared to male heroes? Do you expect more guidance from one to the other, or is that the same kind of?
No, totally equal.
Fair dues.
Yeah.
Equality for all.
Yes, equality. I'm
As long
for
as you've
it.
got a decent sack of abs and some good arms, you're fine with your woman being like glamazon.
I'm gonna
Or a
give
vagina
this-
with teeth.
I love those vaginas with teeth.
Technically,
I wish
those
my
guys
vagina
were
had teeth.
douchebags, so I didn't feel bad for them. I just
There
couldn't
you
help.
go.
Ow.
It's like 3 out of 4 are rapists. The other
Yeah.
one just let her mom die.
Mhm. So basically, I was with you with, okay, fuck those guys, but at the same time, I'm like, ow.
And I
Fucking
understand
ow.
that because you have that part. I don't have that problem.
My position on that film was they all deserve it, and
They
the right
did.
thing happened, but why'd they have to fucking film it?
The underlying message is literally "fuck those guys." That should be the tagline on the film. Gee, fuck those guys.
Should be, yeah. The whole time you're like, good, but fucking ow.
I'm gonna
Unless
steer this
you're me
towards
and you're just-
possible.
Laughing.
Yeah.
What kind of laugh? More like, or like
I think I laughed.
Like that.
There we go. Possibly controversial question. Would you say there are more male villains or female villains? And
Male.
what are some good female villains?
Good female villains? Nurse Ratchet. It's the only one I could think of top of my head. You guys seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
A while ago, but yeah.
Yeah. Nurse Ratchet. You the bitch. Cruella DeVille, 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah. A lot of
Lucky
Disney
Bitch of the
villains
West.
are women.
Yeah, Maleficent.
Maleficent, the Snow Queen,
Stepmother and her two
Ursula.
Ursula.
Jason's mother in Friday the 13th.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who else?
But then of course you've got like
And Scream 2.
female like a Catwoman. She's kind of
Antihero.
Poison Ivy,
Oh, she's just a villain.
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn.
Oh. Word.
Is Harley Quinn in a Batman film? Or am I being
No.
stupid?
Not yet.
Wait, are you saying I'm not being stupid yet, or is Harley Quinn not in a film yet?
No, she's not yet.
Don't think so.
She's not now.
Hmm.
I want her to be.
The amount of cosplay and role play that's on the internet, they'd be stupid not to touch upon it at some point. You know,
I didn't know who she was till I played the video games.
you only showed
You
up.
never watched the old school cartoons or anything?
No, never read the comics. Nothing. I only knew Tim Burton Batman and Adam West Batman, and that's it.
Then Christopher Nolan came by and changed your life.
Yeah, that was some good stuff. Women villains. Let's see how many women villains I can find. Here we go. Top
Jennifer's
10.
Body.
Monster.
Jennifer's Body.
Does that count? Or was she a
Yeah,
villain?
that was a true story too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely a villain.
I've watched a few
Prostitute
horror
gone
movies
serial killer.
where there are female villains.
Madagascar 3 with the wrangler of animals. She's a woman.
Okay.
She's
I haven't seen
hey,
it.
don't judge me, Courtney. I watched that film. Yes, I know.
What? There's no judgment here. I don't do that.
Ooh.
You've
Yeah, Annie Wilkes of Misery. Yeah, definitely.
There we go. Misery. Absolutely.
You've got the very evil Anastasia Steele that seduces a businessman in a suit.
Let me just stop.
He's a harpy. Yeah.
We got Kill Bill ones, but I don't. They're all bad in there. All those chicks are badass.
Would you say that she's an anti-hero or a villain in that one? Main character.
That's more of a.
It's all about
Yeah,
perspective, isn't it? It's all about perspective.
I totally see it as a revenge film. I don't know. She was bad though. She was a hired mercenary pretty much for Bill. So. Yeah, I guess she would be an anti-hero. You don't want to like her, but she is kind of doing it for her own selfish intentions too. So it's.
Yeah, that's what I think you'd have to do is kind of really look at what were her long-term goals there. I mean, one, she didn't even know her daughter was alive, so she wasn't trying to rescue her daughter. She just wanted to kill these people. So it's almost kind of hard to say, she's a hero. So at best you could say she's an anti-hero, but
You could technically see her story as the origin story of a big villain as well. A group of people pissed them off, so they went around killing everyone.
yeah. I think it would be interesting. What they should do is, in a few years have, tell the follow-up story of the daughter of Vivica Fox's character coming back to get revenge on Uma Thurman for killing her mom. I think that would be a nice little completion.
That's what I always thought they were gonna do, but yeah, it's been 10 years now and it hasn't happened. I was
Are they
like,
bringing out a new one?
Vivica Fox's daughter's going to kill you one day, lady.
I thought they're bringing out a new Kill Bill or something like that.
Are they? I know he's working on.
He's working on something.
He's doing
Yeah.
something sci-fi this time around, isn't he?
So not Kill Bill.
That's the
I know
rumor.
it's his 8th film and it says something 8, so I just can't think of it.
Yeah, I've heard the title, but again, it's not coming to me. So, but it's something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they're hoping for like Pulp Fiction 2 and stuff like that as well. But I guess he's got the advantage that he's made so many wonderful films that people are longing and wishing, and he's got the choice to pick and choose or continue to work on his own projects. And he could stop making films tomorrow, and he would still be the legend that everybody knows him as. Or some producers and directors and writers, if they stop writing tomorrow, you forget them in 5-10 years.
I don't know that Quentin Tarantino's made so many good films. I think he's made the same film over and over again with just different landscape. I mean,
That's
they're
like-
all revenge stories. They're all revenge porn. Whether it's slavery or Jews in World War II. I mean, it's all somebody coming back to wreak bloody revenge on somebody who's wronged them.
Well, they also don't have to be good to be iconic. I know that sounds weird, but some iconic films are iconic for the sake of them not being wonderful. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The only reason that's iconic is because how gruesome it was when it first came out. If you have a look at The Exorcist now, by modern day standards, that's not a great film, but it scared the living shit out of cinemas because it was the first time anyone got that reaction, and then everyone jumped on the fact that it's banned, so therefore it became iconic because it was banned. Another huge example of that alone is Last House on the Left, the original. That is a disgusting film. The only reason I found it is because I'm a Wes Craven and Sean Cunningham fan, right? And that's ground zero. That's where they started from, and then they split off made the Nightmare on Elm Street and the Friday the 13th series, and then came back, and then Craven did everything else afterwards because he could. But just because they're iconic doesn't mean they were wonderful. Last House on the Left was appalling. Clockwork Orange,
Yeah.
you know,
Which one was Last House on the Left? Was that Jennifer Lawrence? Yeah.
the remake.
No.
The remake was but the original was 1980s.
Is it the one where the girl gets raped in it?
Yeah.
Over
Yeah.
and over and over again on really bad tape, and yeah. It's effectively half the plot of every horror film that was banned in that era.
Right.
Before they started making stuff like Cannibal Corpse, I Spit on Your Grave. But those are iconic not because of the cinematography, it's just because the genre they're in. But that's once again back to the whole, Kill Bill was great because it was different, not necessarily because it was wonderful, but it was still delivered by the same fanatic director that has the same fanatic fan base. It's highly anticipated, even if he then goes on to Inglourious Bastards to rewrite history. It's sensationalism that makes his films. You won't forget them. Doesn't mean they're not the best film around.
I'm going to ask you my last question. Who would you say is the hero and the villains of Pulp Fiction?
So I've only seen Pulp Fiction once, all the way through. There's many iconic or memorable films that I have yet to touch upon, but you follow the Travolta and is that Jackson? This is where I look racist if I've got it wrong.
Jackson.
Yay! Here's another Firefly reference. So you follow them around, so they seem to be the center of attention. So you're forced to make those hero. That's the point in it.
Yeah, I think the closest you get in Pulp Fiction might be Bruce Willis as an anti-hero. But none of them are really good people. I mean, it's kind of, again, the story of a bunch of bad people doing bad things to each other. So it's tough to point to anyone as the actual hero. You kind of have to look at the individual stories within themselves. I mean, they're all little chapters. I mean, in the John Travolta Uma Thurman piece, you can almost see John Travolta having the hero's role in that one because he's kind of got to overcome some of his own inner demons, and then he ends up having to save Uma Thurman's life when somebody else might not have gone to those extents. So if you look at within the individual stories, you could almost kind of picture somebody as the hero of that segment, or at least an anti-hero in that segment.
Then
But
again,
again,
it's
none
all
of them are
about
really good.
intent. It's all about
Yeah.
intent. Why did he save her life? Because it's his boss's. He would get killed probably if he didn't.
Yeah,
Right?
obviously.
I'm remembering that right.
Yeah, because she was his boss's wife, and if she overdosed on his watch, he probably wouldn't have had a good time of it.
Yeah. So that's selfish intent. I don't know. Yeah, it's great. It's very difficult. But yeah. I think that's probably going to wrap us up here. Thank you very much for watching the Hangout. Hey guys, wanted you do your wee outro things. I'm good at this, by the way.
Okay. I'm Alan. I'm Mr. Hairy Brett. That's my channel if you haven't seen me before. I do 4 videos each and every week, 2 funny news, 1 movie review on a Tuesday, and a general vlog on Friday. This week, I can't remember what I'm reviewing. I'm Avengers Assemble for Tuesday, so yay! Feel free to review the wonderful heroes, anti-heroes, and everything else. And I'll see you soon.
All right, I'm Chris, and you can find me at Easy Chair Reviews on YouTube, where I give movie reviews mainly for Movie Club Strikes Back, a couple of other videos you can check out if you're so interested, and occasionally stuff on Twitter, as mentioned previously.
And I am Courtney. You can find me at Courtney Garrett or youtube.com/rhetoricalfoil. Again, just movie reviews and video gaming while drunk and talking to you randomly when drunk. A lot of drinking on my channel. Speaking of which, I've switched to gin. Yay! Next.
Oh, shit. All right, do it. Drink it all. I can't go until you drink it all. No.
You're going to be waiting a while.
Not gin, no. Okay, I'm Handsome Quacker. You can find me on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. All the same handle. They never change. I do movie reviews, probably one video a week because I'm lazy. Sometimes I vlog. It's very rare. That's about it.
Liam, I've been your awful moderator for this evening, and yeah, I'm Servatorix on everyone on the internet. I do the things for Movie Club Strikes Back, things for Alan's Movie Club as well, and yeah, maybe one or two vlogs every blue moon. I don't know. I do have a reaction video of me watching Teeth, so that's something. Yeah, thank you very much for watching this Hangout. Please do subscribe to everyone involved in this Hangout, all these lovely people. You really do want to subscribe to them. And please subscribe to the channel as well. We've got this every single week, and yeah, we've got a couple special guest movie pickers coming up for you, so that might keep you interested. I don't know. But yeah, hopefully we'll do a better job next week. We did a pretty good job this week, I think. So yeah, thanks for watching.
It's a tough topic.
It was completely nipple free, so yeah.
For once.
George Clooney.
George Clooney. Don't forget.
We filled our quota. Anything else we need to quote? Yeah.
There we go. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time, people.